They told her to get lost, because to them she was just a child. Too small. Too quiet. Too young to wear the uniform, let alone stand on the same training roster as seasoned operators. She didn't argue. She didn't defend herself. She didn't need to. Because when she outperformed them without ever raising her voice, the tone changed. Mockery curdled into resentment. Resentment hardened into something uglier. By the time they cornered her at the stairwell, the decision had already been made. They kicked her down a flight of metal stairs. Left her sprawled on concrete, ribs burning, breath torn from her chest. Her gear scattered across the landing like debris after an explosion. They told her not to come back. What they didn't know, what no one there knew, was that she was already fully certified. Instructor qualified. The youngest Navy SEAL ever cleared to operate inside a joint operational combat training facility. And she wasn't finished. She came back the next morning. But before any of that, before the fall, before the silence hardened into resolve, there was the first moment they saw her and decided she didn't belong. They noticed her before she even crossed the lot. Too small. Too quiet. Too wrong. She didn't hesitate at the gate. Didn't fumble with paperwork. Didn't glance at the warning sign welded into the chain-link fence. Joint Operational Combat Prep. Tier 2 Integration. She simply handed over her ID and waited. Calm. Still. The military police guard almost waved her aside. "You here for your dad?" he asked, eyes barely lifting. She didn't answer. She held the card steady until he looked again. And then looked closer. "You're the inbound?" Another pause. A small nod. The kind that ends questions. She walked in alone. No escort. No commanding officer trailing behind. Just a regulation duffel bag, cinched tight with a knot no one her age should have known how to tie. Boots laced clean. Not a single scuff as she crossed the uneven gravel. Inside the facility, the noise hit immediately. The central corridor funneled sound from every direction. Weight plates clanging, radios crackling, voices bouncing off concrete. The moment she stepped inside, heads turned. 2 Marines froze mid-hand wrap. A Navy corpsman setting up biometric gear stared too long. Someone laughed. Did somebody bring their kid to work? The joke landed hard. Laughter followed. She didn't flinch. Didn't speed up. Didn't slow down. She walked with controlled precision, the kind that can't be faked. An army trainee stepped into her path, tall, sleeves rolled high like a challenge. "This isn't a field trip," he said, eyebrows raised, waiting for embarrassment. She didn't answer. Didn't even make eye contact. She sidestepped him like he wasn't there. That's when the whispers began. "No way she's cleared. This a PR stunt. She's got to be someone's mistake." Hierarchy feeds places like this, and soon a sergeant stepped forward. "Name?" She handed him a folded roster copy. No words. He read it. Then read it again. His jaw tightened once before he cleared his throat. "Put her on Bravo bracket." The admin tech froze. "You sure?" No response. The marker moved. Her name went up. No titles. No notes. Same rotation. Same drills. That was the moment it became real. By mid-morning, disbelief had turned sharp. The first block was baseline endurance and recovery. Nothing dramatic. Timed sprints. Burpees under load. Short rest windows designed to expose weaknesses. She moved through the circuit without noise or display. That irritated them. Her breathing never spiked. Her hands never trembled. When the buzzer hit, she cleared the space immediately, disappearing like she'd been trained to do. Then the times went up on the board. Not the fastest. Just cleaner. Her recovery was faster. Heart rate dropped sooner. While others bent over or lay flat on the mat, staring at the ceiling, she stood still, eyes forward, breathing measured. "Give it a minute," someone muttered. "She'll gas." She didn't. Second station. Same outcome. Third. Same again. The problem wasn't that she was winning. It was that she was making it look effortless. By lunch, the jokes had sharpened. Must be nice being light. Bet they lowered the standard for her. She ate alone. Back to the wall. Left early. The silence started to feel intentional. The first direct confrontation came in the weight bay. A bigger trainee blocked her path to the rack. Sweat dripping from his jaw. "You're in the wrong bracket." She looked at the bar. Then at the open space beside him. Waited. "This is an evaluation facility," he continued. "Not a daycare." Thin laughter followed. She stepped around him anyway. That's when it landed. "Get the hell out, little girl." The room went quiet in that dangerous way that pretends to be casual. She paused. Long enough for everyone to notice. Then she racked the bar, checked the collar, and walked away. No reaction. That was worse. Because insults only work when they provoke something. And she gave them nothing. By the next drill, the looks had hardened. This wasn't confusion anymore. It was humiliation. And humiliation always looks for a body to land on. They hadn't said it out loud yet, but the decision was forming. If the system wouldn't remove her, they would. The group comparison block sealed it. 4-person rotations. Same clock. Same standards. No excuses. She was placed with the loudest voices. The first man exploded off the line and paid for it when his load twisted mid-run. The second barely made time, chest heaving. Then she stepped up. She didn't sprint. She moved. Clean footwork. Perfect turns. No wasted motion. She crossed the line with seconds to spare. Next drill. Rope climb under fatigue. One burned out halfway. Another needed a second attempt. She climbed last. Controlled. Patient. Efficient. She rang the marker and dropped clean. That's when the whispers changed. "She's doing this on purpose. She's making us look bad." Someone slammed a bottle down hard. She didn't turn. And that was the moment the air shifted. Because she wasn't just outperforming them anymore. She was exposing them. And they decided it couldn't continue. By the end of the block, the tension was electric, tight, waiting. One of them leaned in as she passed. "This ends today." She slowed a fraction. Not in fear. In understanding. The problem wasn't her performance. It was her presence. And they were done pretending. It happened without ceremony, without speeches or threats. Just timing. The end of the training day brought a lull that everyone recognized. Bodies drifted toward the locker wing. Boots dragged. Water bottles were half drained. Voices dulled by fatigue. The facility exhaled. She took the west stairwell. It was quieter than the main corridors, a side route most people used when they wanted to avoid the bottleneck near the gear racks. Fewer eyes. Fewer questions. Predictable geometry. She preferred it that way. That evening, 3 men were already there. She didn't notice them at first. The lighting was dim, the concrete stairwell echoing with distant footsteps from other levels. But as she reached the middle landing, they stepped forward together. Not rushed. Not hesitant. Just closing space. Burke led. Older. Lean. The kind of man who wore his bruises like credentials. The others flanked him without a word. Their shoulders angled inward, cutting off the exit behind them. The stairs down curved sharply to the right. She stopped. No panic. No backward step. Just assessment. She had a second. Maybe less. Then Burke shoved her. An open palm to the chest. Not hard enough to injure. Just enough to disrupt balance. Her boots slid half an inch as she caught the rail. The second man moved immediately, driving a kick just under her ribs. Pain detonated sharp and white, folding her body inward as air exploded from her lungs. The third didn't strike. He finished. A shoulder slammed into her bent frame. Her foot missed the stair. Gravity did the rest. The fall wasn't cinematic. It was brutal. Metal edge into her side. Concrete scraping her forearm. The duffel tore free and tumbled ahead of her, hitting the bottom landing with a hollow thud. She struck last, flat, breathless, the world collapsing into noise and heat. For a moment, even they went quiet. Then someone scoffed. "Stay down, kid." Boots shuffled upward. No rush. No hesitation. They left like men confident the mistake had been corrected. The door clanged shut. She didn't move right away. Not because she couldn't. Because she knew better. When the echoes faded, she rolled onto her side, breathing shallow, controlled. One palm at a time, she reached for her gear. No one came. No one knew. By the time she pushed herself upright and stepped into the lower lot, there was only gravel and silence. Her lip was split. Her ribs burned deep and pulsing. She didn't go to the infirmary. Didn't knock on a command door. Didn't call for help. She walked past the motor pool and out beyond the rear gravel lot, where the old maintenance sheds sat abandoned, rusted skeletons in the fading light. She slipped into one empty structure and sat down slowly. Only then did she breathe. She lifted her undershirt carefully, exhaling through her teeth as she checked the damage. Bruising already bloomed along her side. Tender. Deep. Not broken. She knew that much. The pain wasn't fear-inducing. It was informational. She'd misread them. Thought fear would slow them longer. Thought they'd posture another day, maybe two, before crossing the line. She'd been wrong. Only once. She stayed there nearly an hour. Let adrenaline drain. Let breath normalize. Let her mind settle back into clarity. Then she stood. Not in a dramatic way. No transformation. Just preparation. She retied her boots slower this time. Adjusted her side pack so it wouldn't press against the bruised ribs. Checked her gloves. Rolled her wrists. Ran small, precise movements through each joint, checking range, checking pain points. She didn't rehearse techniques. Didn't shadowbox. She didn't practice what she wouldn't use. Pain stayed where it was. She didn't fight it. Pain was only dangerous when ignored. The sky darkened. She drank from her canteen, then refilled it at a spigot behind the shed. No one saw her. That was intentional. By the time she slipped back into the barracks through a side stairwell after lights out, she was steady again. No limp. No stagger. Just control. Because she wasn't going to warn them. She was going to let them try again. At 0545, she walked back through the gate. Same duffel. Same boots. Same pace. The guards noticed the faint discoloration along her cheekbone. The tightened jaw. They didn't ask questions. They stepped aside. Inside, the facility was already alive. Chalk dust hung in the air. Radios murmured. Contractors stretched near the bleachers. Someone froze mid-conversation. "Is that?" No one finished the sentence. She moved through the corridors like she'd never left. The locker wing fell quiet as she entered. Burke saw her first. He stood frozen, halfway through relacing his boot. No grin this time. No swagger. Harwood rounded the corner and stopped dead. "No way," someone whispered. They weren't scared. They were angry. Not because she was back. Because she wasn't supposed to be. Burke stepped forward. "You think walking in here proves something?" She didn't answer. Didn't slow. She unzipped her bag and began laying out her gear. "You didn't learn," he said louder. "You don't belong here." She kept moving. Someone muttered. Thought they kicked her out. Guess not hard enough. She pulled out her gloves and set them down. Her ribs throbbed. Her stance didn't. Harwood kicked a towel aside. "What? No apology." Burke stepped closer, fists half-formed. "You want to try the stairs again?" She turned. Eyes up. Posture relaxed. "Try me standing." That was all. No threat. No challenge. Just reality. The room caught it immediately. She wasn't escalating. She was offering. And this time, there would be no falling, only what followed impact. They didn't wait for the first drill. There were no cameras in the rear supply corner, where the mats were kept for partner resistance work. No instructors either. Most of the unit had already drifted toward warm-ups. Checking vests, tightening straps, pretending nothing unusual was happening. Burke moved first. While she adjusted the harness at her station, he closed from behind, fast and angry. 2 hands yanked backward, built on brute force and the confidence that numbers win fights. She didn't go with it. Her heel planted. Her center dropped. His pull met solid resistance, and his momentum died before it could crest. She pivoted with his force, neutralized the angle, and reset the distance without striking. Harwood came in from the left, elbow already raised. Instinctive. Sloppy. She stepped under the arc, slipped sideways, and the blow scraped her shoulder instead of driving center. She rotated with the motion, redirected his balance, and he stumbled past her, swearing. Lechner charged last, trying to close fast and overwhelm with speed. She turned into him. No words. No hesitation. His arm extended. She captured the wrist, rotated inward, dropped her weight, and let physics do the rest. He hit the mat hard. Burke lunged again, this time shouting. Anger stripped him of precision. He reached for her collar, missed, and she caught his shoulder and redirected the force. His own feet betrayed him. He went down fast. Hey! Someone across the mat zone had seen it. Others turned. Conversations died mid-sentence. A contractor froze with tape half wrapped around his hand. It had taken seconds. 3 men on the ground. No blood. No theatrics. Just clean, controlled reversals. She stood at the center of it, breathing slightly harder now but composed. No shaking hands. No panic. Harwood sat up first, blinking like the world had shifted without warning. Lechner rolled onto his side, rubbing his shoulder. Burke stayed down longest. When his eyes finally met hers, something fundamental drained away. No pride. No rage. Just understanding. She didn't say anything. She adjusted the strap on her vest and walked back toward the mats. Someone stepped aside to make room. She passed without looking back. Behind her, no one followed. Not this time. One voice tried to laugh it off. Just a warm-up gone wrong. No one bought it. Because everyone there had seen the same thing. 3-on-1 reversed without escalation. Not strength. Not luck. Technique. The drills resumed, but the air had changed. She partnered with a contractor nearly twice her weight. She didn't dominate him. Didn't embarrass him. She held center, timed entries, rotated his frame like a heavy object moved with leverage instead of muscle. When the round ended, he nodded once. Respect. Burke didn't join the next rotation. He sat on the edge of the mat, arms folded, eyes tracking her like he hadn't decided whether to be angry or afraid. Lechner rolled his shoulder for the rest of the morning. Harwood disappeared into the bathroom and came back quieter. When the resistance circuit reset, her name wasn't called. She walked to the board herself. Took the marker. Wrote her name in the open slot. No one argued. Not even the instructor, who had just arrived, and scanned the list with a flicker of surprise before moving on. The next sequence was advanced hold transitions, 2-person scenarios designed to simulate disarm and retention. She was paired with a Marine no one challenged. Older. Dense. Built like a wall. No one thought she'd be able to move him. She didn't try to. She timed the angle. Redirected the wrist. Dropped her weight and rotated him inches off center. It looked insignificant until he tapped twice. That's when the sidelines stopped pretending. By mid-afternoon, the board showed her name everywhere. Different drills. Different partners. No failures. Even the ones who disliked her weren't stepping forward anymore. They weren't asking why she was there now. They were asking how they'd ever thought they could stop her. The brake bell rang. Vests hit the floor. Half the unit drifted toward benches and water tanks, stretching, scrolling, stealing glances. She sat alone, gloves half off, adjusting a wrist strap. Burke watched from across the yard. Then he walked over. Slow. Unaccompanied. No jokes. No backup. He stopped a few feet away. What the hell are you? She looked up, level and calm. The youngest SEAL ever cleared for cross-unit instruction, she said. No build-up. No emphasis. Just fact. Burke blinked. That's not possible. She tilted her head. Tell that to your ribs. He tried again. You're, what, 14? She didn't answer. You think I got here because of PR, she said. Because of politics? I passed every bracket. Every clearance. I earned it. Around them, the facility had gone still. Burke nodded once. Not respect. Realization. You made the mistake of thinking quiet meant weak, she said. You won't make it again. She stood and walked past him. He didn't follow. Because the truth had landed, and it didn't need repeating. Part 3, they didn't wait for the first drill. There were no cameras in the rear supply corner, where the mats were laid out for partner resistance training. No instructors either. Most of the unit had already drifted toward warm-ups, tightening vests, checking hydration logs, pretending nothing unusual was happening. Burke moved first. While she adjusted the harness at her station, he came from behind, fast and angry. 2 hands yanked backward, driven by brute force and the confidence that numbers always win. She didn't go with it. Her heel planted. Her center dropped. His pull met solid resistance, and his momentum died before it could crest. She pivoted with the force, neutralized the angle, and reset the distance without striking. Harwood came in from the left, elbow already raised, all instinct and impatience. She stepped under the arc, slipped sideways, and the blow scraped her shoulder instead of landing center mass. She rotated with the motion, redirected his balance, and he stumbled past her, swearing. Lechner charged last, trying to close fast and overwhelm with speed. She turned into him. No words. No hesitation. His arm extended. She captured the wrist, rotated inward, dropped her weight, and let physics take over. He hit the mat hard. Burke lunged again, shouting now. Anger stripped him of precision. He reached for her collar, missed, and she caught his shoulder and redirected the force. His feet betrayed him. He went down fast. Hey! Someone across the mat zone had seen it. Others turned. Conversations died mid-sentence. A contractor froze with tape half wrapped around his hand. It took seconds. 3 men on the ground. No blood. No screaming. No chaos. Just clean, controlled reversals. She stood in the center of it, breathing slightly harder now but composed. No shaking. No panic. Harwood sat up first, blinking like reality had shifted without warning. Lechner rolled onto his side, rubbing his shoulder. Burke stayed down the longest. When his eyes finally met hers, something emptied out of them. Not rage. Not pride. Just understanding. She didn't mock him. She adjusted the strap on her vest and walked back toward the mats. Someone stepped aside to make room. She passed without looking back. Behind her, no one followed. Not this time. One voice tried to laugh it off. Relax. Warm-up gone wrong. No one believed it. Everyone there had seen what mattered. 3-on-1 reversed. Not strength. Not luck. Technique. The drills continued, but the air had changed. She partnered with a contractor nearly twice her weight. She didn't dominate him. Didn't embarrass him. She held center, timed her entries, rotated his frame like someone moving a heavy object with leverage instead of muscle. When the round ended, he stepped back and nodded once. Respect. Burke didn't join the next rotation. He sat on the edge of the mat, arms folded, eyes locked on her like he hadn't decided whether to be angry or afraid. Lechner rubbed his shoulder for the rest of the morning. Harwood disappeared into the bathroom and came back quieter. When the resistance circuit reset, her name wasn't called. She walked to the board herself. Took the marker. Wrote her name in the open slot. No one objected. Not even the instructor who had just arrived, and scanned the list with a flicker of surprise before moving on. The next sequence was advanced hold transitions, 2-person scenarios designed for disarm and retention. She was paired with a Marine no one challenged. Older. Dense. Built like a wall. No one thought she could move him. She didn't try to. She timed the angle, redirected the wrist, dropped her weight and rotated him inches off center. It looked insignificant until he tapped out twice. That's when the sideline stopped pretending not to watch. By mid-afternoon, the board carried her name again and again. Different drills. Different partners. Same outcome. No failures. Even the ones who didn't like her weren't stepping forward anymore. They weren't questioning why she was there now. They were questioning how they ever thought they could stop her. The break bell rang. Vests hit the floor. Half the unit drifted toward the benches and water tanks, stretching, scrolling, sneaking glances. She sat alone, gloves half off, adjusting a wrist strap. Burke watched from across the yard. Then he walked over. Slow. Measured. No friends flanking him. No jokes to hide behind. He stopped a few feet away. What the hell are you? She looked up. Calm. Level. The youngest SEAL ever cleared for cross-unit instruction, she said. No build-up. No drama. Just fact. That's not possible, he muttered. She tilted her head slightly. Tell that to your ribs. He swallowed. You're what, 14? She didn't answer. You think I got here because of PR? She said quietly. Because of politics? I passed every bracket. Every clearance. I earned it. Around them, the yard had gone still. Burke nodded once. Not respect. Realization. You made the mistake of thinking quiet meant weak, she said. You won't make it again. She stood and walked past him. This time, he didn't turn to follow. Because the truth had finally landed, and it didn't need to be repeated. They didn't come back the next day. There was no announcement. No briefing posted on the corkboard outside administration. No rumors formally addressed, no explanations offered. The facility didn't pause to acknowledge the absence. 3 bunks were stripped bare. Lockers stood open and empty. Names that had been written confidently onto the rotation board were simply gone. No one asked why. No one needed to. Everyone who had been on the mats the morning before already understood what had happened. They had seen 3 men move with intent and end up on the ground. They had seen her walk away without a word. In places like this, that was evidence enough. Training continued. The brackets filled themselves. The rotations adjusted. The system absorbed the loss without a ripple, the way it always does when it decides someone was never meant to be there in the first place. Burke's laugh no longer echoed through the gear cage. Harwood's snide remarks weren't waiting at the weight bench. Lechner's whistle didn't cut through the chow line. In their place, there was only quiet. And her. She kept showing up. Same duffel bag. Same gloves. Same controlled pace. No one questioned her clearance anymore. No one tested her out of curiosity or spite. Not because they were afraid, but because they understood. Respect doesn't always arrive with rank insignia or a speech. Sometimes it just walks in, does the work, and forces everyone in the room to reevaluate themselves. The days stacked up. Drills rotated. Evaluations came and went. She never sought attention. Never corrected anyone unless asked. Never explained herself beyond what was required. When paired with trainees far larger than her, she didn't dominate them. She guided them. Redirected their force. Left them standing when the round ended with a nod that said more than praise ever could. The instructors noticed. Not in the way that drew spotlight or ceremony. Just small adjustments. Harder pairings. More complex scenarios. Less margin for error. She passed all of it. Silently. One afternoon, near the end of the cycle, she stood by the training field exit, rolling the tension out of her wrist wrap one last time. The sun hung low, turning the gravel gold. A young recruit walked past, barely old enough to shave. His eyes widened when he recognized her. He slowed instinctively, then gave her a wide berth, unsure whether to salute, nod, or disappear. She caught his hesitation and nodded once. Casual. Equal. He nodded back, relief breaking across his face. No ceremony. No hierarchy enforced. Just understanding passing quietly from one future to another. She stepped through the gate and into the fading light. Boots steady. Shoulders even. No medals displayed. No scars advertised. Nothing outward that marked her as extraordinary. But no one inside that facility would ever mistake her for ordinary again. Because they'd learned something they couldn't unlearn. They had mistaken silence for weakness. Restraint for fragility. Youth for unreadiness. And they'd paid for it, not with blood, not with punishment, but with the far deeper cost of being exposed. She had been tested, pushed, discarded, and told to disappear. Instead, she returned. Not louder. Not angrier. Just better. And in doing so, she proved something that echoed long after the lockers had been cleared and the names erased from the board. The most dangerous person in the room isn't always the loudest, the biggest, or the oldest. Sometimes, it's the one you tried to erase, and failed.